As the Pathfinder limped through the darkness of space, Commander Reyes assessed the damage. 3 crew members dead, life support functioning at 60%, and hull breaches on 2 decks. She touched the data crystal containing the alien database, still warm from the hasty download. "Navigation, how long until we reach the jump point?" she asked, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. Lieutenant Park looked up from his console, face illuminated by emergency lighting. 4 hours, Commander. Assuming the engines hold. Reyes nodded, then turned to her communications officer. "Send an encrypted burst transmission to Earth Command. Attach preliminary scans of the alien vessel and outpost. They need to know what's coming." The crystalline Viraki ship had been unlike anything humans had encountered before. Organic technology merged with mineral structures that seemed to pulse with internal energy. Their weapons had cut through the Pathfinder's shields like they weren't even there. Dr. Sato, the xenobiologist, approached with his tablet. "Commander, I've completed initial analysis of the alien database. The translation matrix is still processing most of it, but I found something disturbing." He showed her a star chart with hundreds of worlds marked with different symbols. Earth's symbol was unique, a quarantine marker. "They've been watching us," Reyes said, the realization settling like a weight on her shoulders. "For how long?" "Based on historical references in their logs. At least 10,000 years." Sato scrolled through more data. "They call themselves the Viraki. They're part of something larger, an interstellar community that has specific protocols for emerging species. We weren't supposed to develop faster than light travel for another century." Chief Engineer Torres joined them, wiping grease from her hands. "We've patched the primary drive, but it won't last. Whatever they hit us with destabilized the quantum matrix." Reyes looked around at her crew, tired, wounded, but determined. Humanity had spent the past century exploring the solar system, establishing colonies on Mars and the Jovian moons, developing the first functional FTL drive just 15 years ago. They had thought themselves alone in the galaxy. Now they knew better. "We make the jump point," she decided. "Earth needs to prepare. If the Viraki consider us a quarantine case, they won't just let us walk away with their secrets." As if confirming her fears, the ship's sensors blared a warning. 3 more crystalline vessels had appeared at the edge of the system, moving to cut off their escape route. "Battle stations," Reyes ordered. "Navigation. Plot an evasive course. We need to reach that jump point." The Pathfinder accelerated, pushing its damaged systems to the limit. The first human-alien conflict had begun, and Commander Reyes knew with absolute certainty that it wouldn't be the last. Humanity's place among the stars would not be given. It would have to be taken. Admiral Chen stared at the holographic display, showing the approaching Viraki fleet. 23 ships, each carrying enough firepower to level a city. Against them, humanity had 3 experimental vessels and a handful of retrofitted defense platforms. "Tell me something encouraging, Doctor," Chen said to the woman beside him. Dr. Vivian Kazarian adjusted her glasses, her fingers dancing across her tablet. The physicist had been instrumental in reverse engineering the alien technology from the Pathfinder's data. "The quantum resonance shields should hold against their primary weapons, at least for a while," she said. "And our phase cannons target the molecular structure of their crystalline hulls. In theory, they're effective." "In theory," Chen repeated. "Theories get tested in laboratories. We're testing ours in combat." A junior officer approached with a communication pad. "Sir, the Security Council is requesting an update on evacuation protocols for major population centers." Chen took the pad but didn't look at it. "Tell them we're not evacuating. We're defending." The officer hesitated. "Sir, the projections indicate." "I know what they indicate," Chen cut him off. "They indicate that if we run, we die anyway. The Viraki won't stop with a few cities. They want to put the genie back in the bottle. They want humanity contained." On the Defiance's bridge, Captain Sarah Okonkwo ran another systems check. As the ship's commander, she had handpicked her crew, ignoring traditional military hierarchy in favor of skill and adaptability. "Navigation status?" she asked. Lieutenant Rodriguez, formerly a street racer before the military recognized his reflexes as exceptional, grinned. "All maneuvering systems at 100%, Captain. This ship handles better than anything I've ever flown." "Weapons?" Okonkwo turned to her tactical officer. "Phase cannons charged. Quantum torpedoes loaded," reported Commander Jackson, whose background in theoretical physics had once made him an unlikely military candidate. "Though I still think the targeting algorithms could use refinement." Okonkwo nodded. "Keep working on it. We may only get one shot." Meanwhile, on the Tenacity, Commander Wai Zong supervised the integration of his unconventional crew. The former hacker serving as communications specialist, the disgraced professor running engineering, the ex-mercenary handling security. "You're all here because you think differently," Zhang told them during their final briefing. "The Vairaki expect patterns. They expect predictability. They've likely simulated every standard military response 1,000 times, so we won't give them standard. We'll give them chaos." As the three ships moved into formation, Admiral Chen sent a final message to Earth Command. "We face an enemy that believes they understand humanity. Their mistake. We've survived ice ages, plagues, world wars, and our own near-extinction events. We didn't come this far to be quarantined in our own solar system. Prepare for our return, either in victory or not at all." The Vairaki commander Valkyr could not understand what was happening. His tactical display showed the human vessels performing maneuvers that defied their predicted capabilities. The crystalline resonance chambers that served as his brain struggled to process the chaos unfolding before him. "Their movement patterns are irrational," reported his second-in-command. "They waste fuel. They expose vulnerable areas. Our tactical models cannot predict their next positions." Valkyr's crystalline appendages trembled with frustration. "They are primitive. They should follow basic survival patterns. Target the vessel designated Tenacity. It has moved away from the others." Aboard the Tenacity, Commander Zhang watched as 3 Vairaki ships adjusted course to pursue him. "They took the bait," he said, a tight smile forming on his lips. "Execute maneuver Icarus." Lieutenant Diaz, his navigator, punched in the commands. "Sir, if we miscalculate by even half a second, then we'll be atomized," Zhang finished for her. "But so will they." The Tenacity suddenly cut its engines, allowing Neptune's gravity to increase its pull. The pursuing Vairaki ships, their trajectories calculated based on the human vessel's previous speed, overshot their target. As they adjusted their course, the Tenacity's engines roared back to life. "Now," Zhang ordered. The human ship released a cloud of quantum resonance particles, essentially weaponized engine exhaust, directly into the path of the oncoming Vairaki vessels. The particles disrupted the crystalline structures of their hulls, creating microscopic fractures that spread with devastating speed. 2 Vairaki ships shattered like glass. The third, partially damaged, spun away trailing crystalline fragments. On the Defiance, Admiral Chen watched Zhang's maneuver with approval. "Signal the Resilience. Time for Phase 2. Captain Hernandez of the Resilience acknowledged the order. Her ship had been hiding in Neptune's shadow, running silent. Now it emerged, firing quantum disruptors at the rear of the Vairaki formation. "Their ships are optimized for frontal engagement," Chen explained to his bridge crew. "Their rear shields are minimal because no rational opponent would attack from behind, while facing overwhelming frontal firepower." The Vairaki formation began to break apart as ships turned to face this new threat. That's when Chen ordered the Defiance to execute its own attack run. "Fire all weapons," he commanded. The phase cannons lanced through space, targeting the molecular weak points in the Vairaki crystalline structure. 4 more enemy ships shattered into glittering debris. Valkyr watched in horror as his perfect formation disintegrated. "Impossible," he whispered. "They were supposed to be predictable. Their ships were supposed to be inferior. His tactical officer's response was cut short as the Defiance's quantum torpedoes found their mark. The Vairaki command ship exploded in a shower of crystalline fragments, beautiful and terrible in the light of Neptune's distant sun. Dr. Okoro studied the neural patterns displayed on her tablet as the Concord representatives continued their diplomatic posturing. The Noor delegate, a swirling mass of energy contained within an environmental suit, emanated patterns that suggested intense curiosity. The Tellurian representative's compound eyes shifted rapidly, taking in every detail of the human delegation. "Your victory against the Vairaki was unexpected," said the Morrican delegate, a reptilian being whose scales shifted color with emotion. Currently, they displayed a mixture of blue caution and green interest. Chen maintained a neutral expression. "We defended ourselves against unprovoked aggression." "Of course," the Morrican replied, scales now tinged with yellow skepticism. "Yet you must understand our concern. No species has defeated Vairaki warships in direct combat for over 3 centuries. Dr. Okoro leaned closer to Chen. "Admiral, their neural patterns shift when discussing our tactics. The Noor is fascinated. The Tellurians are calculating. But the Vairaki representatives are exhibiting what I would interpret as fear." Chen nodded slightly, then addressed the gathering. "We came here in peace. We remain interested in peaceful relations, but we will not be contained or restricted to our own system." The senior Vairaki representative, their crystalline form refracting light in complex patterns, moved forward. "Your species was placed under observation for good reason. Your cognitive structures are anomalous, unpredictable. You do not follow logical progression." Dr. Okoro couldn't remain silent. "You mean we adapt? We improvise?" "Precisely," the Vairaki said, crystal facets pulsing with what might have been agitation. "Such traits led to the collapse of the Third Galactic Harmony. The Concord protocols were established to prevent such instability." Chen exchanged glances with Okoro. This was new information. A soft chime sounded on Chen's secure communicator. A message from Earth Intelligence. * massive energy signatures detected at Epsilon Eridani. Concord military buildup. Estimated 80+ vessels *. He kept his expression neutral, but Okoro noticed his slight tension. The Noor representative drifted closer, their energy form pulsing with what seemed like sympathy. "Not all members of the Concord agree with the containment protocols," they said quietly. "Some of us believe diversity of thought strengthens us all." The Tellurian nodded almost imperceptibly, mandibles clicking softly. The Vairaki fear what they cannot predict. But others among us see opportunity. As the formal discussions continued, Dr. Okoro accessed more of the Vairaki database through her neural interface. What she found confirmed her suspicions. Humans processed information fundamentally differently than most Concord species. Where they sought pattern and predictability, humans thrived on adaptation and creative problem-solving. "Admiral," she whispered to Chen during a brief recess, "they're not just afraid of our ships or weapons. They're afraid of how we think. And I believe some of them," she nodded toward the Noor and Tellurian representatives, "are counting on exactly that." Captain Layla Hassan ran her hand along the newly installed weapons array of the Chimera. The hybrid technology hummed with potential, neither fully Vairaki nor Tellurian, but something uniquely human in its integration. "Will it work?" she asked her chief engineer. Commander Riji Nakamura nodded, though his expression remained cautious. "In theory, we've pushed the integration further than either species would consider logical. The Vairaki crystals shouldn't be compatible with Tellurian plasma conduits, but we've created an adaptive interface that can shift its molecular structure on demand. Just like us," Hassan said with a smile, "adapting when we shouldn't be able to." Throughout the ship, her crew worked with focused intensity. Many wore neural interfaces developed from Dr. Okoro's research, allowing them to communicate directly with the ship's hybrid systems. The interfaces worked too well, according to the Tellurian advisors who had reluctantly shared their technology. Humans shouldn't have been able to integrate so seamlessly with such complex systems. "Captain, we've received the final tactical update from Fleet Command," her communications officer reported. "The Concorde fleet at Epsilon Eridani has grown to 83 vessels." Hassan reviewed the data, noting the distinctive formations. They're still arranging their ships by species and function. Predictable, efficient, vulnerable. A small delegation of Noor representatives floated into the weapons bay, their energy forms contained in specialized environmental suits. The lead Noor, who called itself Luminance, observed the work with evident fascination. "Your integration of disparate technologies defies conventional engineering principles," Luminance said, energy patterns flickering with what Hassan had learned to recognize as excitement. "The Concorde has spent centuries perfecting standardized systems. You create chaos that somehow functions. Chaos with purpose," Hassan corrected. "Humans have always been good at making things work that shouldn't, especially under pressure." Across Earth's orbital shipyards, 11 other vessels underwent similar transformations. Each incorporated alien technology, but with distinctly human modifications. No two ships were identical. Admiral Chen had insisted on this approach, despite protests from traditional military strategists who valued standardization. "The moment we become predictable is the moment we lose," Chen had told the assembled captains. "Each of you knows your crew's strengths. Build your ships accordingly." In Earth's cities, civilian life had transformed as well. Children now studied xenobiology alongside mathematics. Manufacturing plants retooled to produce components for the fleet. Universities redirected research toward understanding alien psychology and technology. Hassan received a priority message on her neural interface. Final launch orders. The Chimera and her sister ships would depart within 12 hours, not to defend Earth, but to take the fight directly to Epsilon Eridani. "They think we'll wait for them to come to us," she told her officers during the final briefing. "Admiral Chen has a different plan. We're going to show the Concorde that humans don't play by anyone's rules but our own." Admiral Chen watched the battle unfold across multiple tactical displays. The Epsilon Eridani system had become a graveyard of ships, both human and alien. The Defiance shuddered as another energy blast struck its already damaged hull. "Shields down to 23%, reported his tactical officer, Lieutenant Commander Rivera. Her face was streaked with blood from a console explosion, but her voice remained steady. "Maintain current heading," Chen ordered. "The tenacity and resilience need another 60 seconds to get into position." The Concorde fleet commander had adapted faster than expected, dividing their forces to counter the human attack pattern. But they still relied on established tactical doctrines, formations that prioritized efficiency over unpredictability. "Sir, the Chimera reports their hybrid weapons system is fully charged," Communications Officer Patel announced. "Captain Hassan requests permission to execute pattern sunburst." Chen nodded grimly. "Tell her to proceed, and inform all remaining vessels to prepare for emergency maneuvers on my mark." The Chimera broke from its evasive course, suddenly accelerating directly toward the center of the Concorde formation. 3 massive Vairaki dreadnoughts moved to intercept, their crystalline weapons arrays charging for a coordinated strike. "They're going to hit her with everything," Rivera whispered. Chen's eyes narrowed. "That's exactly what she wants." The Chimera's hull began to glow with an impossible energy signature as Captain Hassan activated the hybrid weapons system. The ship channeled the combined power of Vairaki crystalline technology and Tellurian plasma physics, merged in ways neither species had ever attempted. "Sunburst deployed," Patel announced. A sphere of energy erupted from the Chimera, expanding outward in pulsating waves. Unlike conventional weapons that targeted hulls or shields, this energy disrupted the very command protocols of Concorde vessels. Ships suddenly lost formation, their systems temporarily scrambled by the unfamiliar energy pattern. "Now," Chen ordered. All ships, execute attack pattern Chaos Prime. The human fleet responded instantly, each vessel targeting pre-assigned weaknesses in the suddenly disorganized Concorde formation. The tenacity and resilience broke through the enemy's rear guard, quantum torpedoes finding their marks with devastating precision. From the Concorde command vessel, Supreme Fleet Commander Zarax watched in mounting horror as his carefully orchestrated battle plan collapsed. Impossible, the eight-limbed tactician hissed through specialized breathing apparatus. Their technology should not function this way. Their tactics violate every principle of logical engagement. His second-in-command, a Viraki crystalline being, vibrated with distress. The human vessels are operating independently, yet somehow maintaining coordinated attacks. They should not be capable of such complex adaptive strategies. Zarax made a decision. Order all surviving ships to regroup at coordinates Alpha 9. We must withdraw and reassess. For the first time in his 3-century military career, he added, the Concorde underestimated these humans. We will not make that mistake again. Dr. Okoro stood before the Tellurian High Council, the massive chamber designed to accommodate the various environmental needs of 7 different species. The recently formed Star Alliance had converted an abandoned Concorde diplomatic station into their headquarters, symbolizing their break from traditional galactic politics. The human neural architecture continues to surprise us, said Chief Engineer Kastik, his compound eyes reflecting the holographic brain scans displayed in the center of the chamber. Their synaptic adaptation rate exceeds anything in our biological database. A newer representative, their energy form shifting in patterns that indicated deep interest, floated closer to the display. This explains much about their technological innovations. They literally think in ways we cannot. Okoro nodded, feeling both pride and unease at being discussed as a biological curiosity. Humans evolved on a planet with rapidly changing conditions. Our ancestors survived ice ages, meteor impacts, and countless natural disasters. Adaptability became essential to our survival. The Morrican delegate, scales shifting to a thoughtful purple hue, leaned forward. Yet the Viraki and their hardline allies see this as dangerous. They believe predictability ensures stability. A perspective born of privilege, Okoro replied. Most Concorde species evolved on worlds with stable environments and abundant resources. They never needed to adapt quickly or drastically to survive. Across the chamber, the communication array chimed. Fleet Marshal Chen's holographic form appeared, his uniform bearing the new insignia of the combined Human Alliance forces. Construction of the joint fleet is proceeding ahead of schedule, he reported. 30 vessels, each incorporating technologies from multiple species. But with human command interfaces, he added with a slight smile. The young Tellurian liaison, assigned to Okoro's team, watched the proceedings with evident fascination. During a break in the formal discussions, she approached Okoro hesitantly. Your music has become very popular among my generation, the Tellurian said, mandibles clicking in what Okoro had learned was their expression of excitement. The concept of harmonious dissonance, sounds that should not work together creating something beautiful. It mirrors how your species thinks. Okoro smiled. That's a profound observation. Many young Tellurians are studying human history now. The liaison continued. Your species nearly destroyed itself multiple times, yet emerged stronger. You turn conflict into progress. The elders fear this approach, but we see its power. Similar conversations were happening across Alliance worlds. Human art, philosophy, and science spread rapidly through alien cultures, particularly among younger generations tired of rigid traditions. Meanwhile, humans eagerly absorbed alien knowledge, but always with a distinctly human twist, combining elements in ways the original creators never imagined. As Okoro prepared to return to the newly commissioned diplomatic vessel Harmony, she received a priority message from Earth intelligence. The hardline Concorde factions had committed their entire remaining fleet to the Procyon system. The final confrontation was imminent. Commander Elena Reyes stood on the bridge of the sacrifice, emergency lights casting shadows across her scared face. The cruiser's engine strained as it accelerated toward the massive Concorde flagship. "Evacuation pods are away," her executive officer reported, his voice steady despite the chaos around them. "All non-essential personnel clear." Reyes nodded, watching the tactical display where Marshal Chen's forces engaged the main Concorde fleet. The battle had raged for nearly 10 hours, both sides taking heavy losses. But the Concorde's surprise attack on the diplomatic vessel Harmony had changed everything. "Targeting their main reactor," announced the tactical officer, one of the skeleton crew who had volunteered to remain aboard. "Their shields are focused forward against the main Alliance fleet." Reyes thought about her journey since that first encounter aboard the Pathfinder. How strange that it would end like this, with her making the deliberate choice to do something so completely unpredictable that it might just save everyone. "The Vairaki Supreme Commander is hailing us," communications reported. Reyes straightened her uniform. On screen, the crystalline face of Supreme Commander Valkyr appeared, facets gleaming with what she now recognized as confusion. "Human vessel, your trajectory is irrational," the Vairaki stated. "You cannot penetrate our shields with your damaged weapon systems." Reyes smiled. "We never intended to use our weapons." Understanding dawned in the Vairaki's crystalline features. "You destroy yourselves to damage our vessel. This is contrary to all survival protocols." "That's what you've never understood about humans," Reyes replied calmly. "Sometimes survival isn't our highest priority." She cut the transmission and turned to her remaining crew. "It's been an honor. Anyone who wants the last escape pod has 30 seconds. No one moved. The sacrifice accelerated to maximum speed. Their trajectory would take them directly into the Concorde flagship's reactor section, where shields were weakest. Across the battlefield, Marshal Chen watched the sacrifice's desperate maneuver. "All vessels, prepare to exploit the opening Commander Reyes is about to create," he ordered, his voice tight with emotion. The Concorde flagship, suddenly recognizing the threat, attempted to redirect shield energy. Too late. The sacrifice struck with devastating force, its experimental drive core creating a cascading reaction through the larger vessel. The explosion temporarily blinded sensors across the battlefield. When systems cleared, the Concorde flagship was crippled, its command structure in disarray. "All vessels, execute final attack pattern," Chen ordered. "Commander Reyes has given us our chance." The Alliance fleet surged forward, exploiting the gap in the Concorde formation. Human vessels, more heavily damaged than their alien counterparts, led the charge, fighting with increased ferocity despite their injuries, a concept the Concorde strategists had never included in their probability calculations.